forever.
The ancestors called on me.
Higher ocean.
As a wayfinder to finish anything we faced before.
I kind of miss the lava monster.
We're back to
Maui and Moana! Together again. Hey, you wanted to come.
Welcome to Miss Cinema Film. Thio's Moana is back, but this time, the ocean's call is even more dangerous. Moana 2, 2024, takes her on a brand new journey beyond everything she knows, filled with bigger adventures, deeper myths, and hidden facts you might have missed. In this video, I'll review Moana 2 and share amazing behind-the-scenes facts, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Miss Cinema Film. Moana 2 is a 2024 American animated musical adventure film produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios. It is the second movie in the Moana series and is directed by David Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, and Dana Ledoux Miller, with a story written by Dana Ledoux Miller and Jared Bush. Many familiar voices return from the first film, including Dwayne Johnson, Auliʻi Cravalho, Rachel House, Timra Morrison, Jermaine Clement, Nicole Scherzinger, and Alan Tudyk. The story is set 3 years after the events of the first movie and follows Moana as she reunites with the demigod Maui. Together, they gather a new wayfinding crew and set out on a dangerous journey to find the lost island of Matafatu, break a powerful curse, and reconnect the people of the ocean. Originally, Moana 2 was planned as a Disney Plus miniseries that would continue Moana's story in multiple episodes. However, by February 2024, the project was changed into a full theatrical sequel to be released in cinemas. Mark Mancina and Opeda Iafoi, who worked on the music and songs for the first film, returned to compose the score and write new songs for the sequel. In addition to them, songwriters Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear also contributed extra music to the film, adding fresh sounds while keeping the spirit of the original. Moana 2 had its world premiere at the Lanakuonua Cultural Institute in Kapolei, Hawaii, on November 21, 2024. It was later released in theaters across the United States on November 27 by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. The film received mixed reactions from critics, with some praising its scale and music while others had more divided opinions. Despite this, it performed extremely well at the box office, earning about $1.059 billion worldwide. This made it more successful than the first Moana and placed it as the third highest grossing movie of 2024. The film also received recognition during awards season, earning a nomination for Best Animated Feature Film at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards. 3 years after her journey with the demigod Maui and the island goddess Te Fiti, Moana continues to explore the ocean around her home, Maui, searching for other people who still share a connection with the sea. After returning from one of these voyages, Moana is honored with the title of Tatai, meaning Master Wayfinder, becoming the first person from Maui to hold this role in 1,000 years. Soon after, Moana receives a powerful vision from her ancestor, the legendary wayfinder Tatai Vesa. He explains that the people of the ocean lost their connection because of the storm god Nalo, who desired control over mortals. Long ago, Nalo sank a mythical island called Matafatu, which once linked all the islands together, deep beneath the sea. Vesa warns Moana that if Matafatu is not raised, the people of Maui will eventually disappear. Answering the call of her ancestors, Moana gathers a crew from her island, including the skilled craftswoman Lotto, the curious historian Money, and the grumpy elderly farmer Keel. Along with her loyal animal companions, Pu'a and Hai, they set sail, following the path of a comet across the ocean toward the lost island of Matafatu. At the same time, Maui is also searching for Matafatu because of an old conflict with Nalo. During his quest, he is captured by Nalo's powerful enforcer, Maitangi. Fearing for Moana's safety, Maui hesitates to ask for her help, worried that she may not survive such a dangerous mission. Meanwhile, Moana and her crew are captured by the Kakama'ora, a group of fierce coconut pirates Moana has faced before. The Kakama'ara reveal that Nalo's actions caused them to lose their connection to their own home island as well. A Kakama'ara named Katu decides to help Moana's crew and assists them in disabling a massive monster clam that contains Maitenji's lair. While the crew rescues Maui, Moana meets Maitenji and learns that she is unhappy serving Nalo. Maitenji secretly helps Moana escape and reunite with her friends, then directs them toward Nalo's domain. Maui warns Moana that Nalo's realm is far more dangerous than the human world and that facing him could mean certain death for mortals. As they travel forward, Nalo's monsters attack, damaging their raft and leaving them stranded on a remote island. Moana begins to lose hope, but Maui encourages her to keep moving forward and trust her purpose. Renewed with confidence, the group forms a plan for Maui to lift Matafa so Moana can touch it, which is the only way to break Nalo's curse. After repairing the raft, they continue their journey, only to be confronted by a massive and violent storm. Understanding that Nalo is trying to stop humans from mending the curse, Moana urges Maui to raise Matafa high enough for her to reach it. As Maui uses his giant fish hook to pull the island upward, Nalo strikes him with lightning, stripping him of his demigod powers. In a desperate act, Moana dives into the ocean and manages to touch Matafa beneath the water. Although she succeeds, she is struck by Nalo's lightning and killed. Maui dives after her, and through a powerful chant, calls upon the spirits of Tautaivasa and Moana's ancestors, including her grandmother Tala. Together, they bring Moana back to life as a demigoddess, marked by a wayfinder's tattoo. Maui regains his powers, lifts Matafa fully, and helps Moana restore the bond between the people and the ocean. Moana and her crew return to Maui, leading a great fleet of ocean peoples united once again. A joyful celebration is held to honor Moana's courage and leadership. In a mid-credits scene, Nalo is shown plotting his revenge and preparing to punish Maitenji for betraying him, but the giant crab Tamatoa appears, offering to join Nalo's dark plans. The casting of Auliʻi Cravalho as Moana in Moana 2, 2024, represents a seamless continuation from the original film, where her performance as the young Polynesian wayfinder captured global audiences. Cravalho, born on November 22, 2000, in Kohala, Hawaii, was just 14 when she auditioned for the first Moana in 2016, marking her acting debut. Her Hawaiian heritage, with roots in native Hawaiian, Portuguese, Chinese, Puerto Rican, and Irish ancestry, align perfectly with the character's cultural authenticity, emphasizing themes of exploration and identity. Directors Ron Clements and John Musker discovered her through a casting call aimed at finding authentic Pacific Islander talent, and her natural charisma and vocal strength won her the role over thousands of applicants. In Moana 2, Cravalho reprises Moana as a more mature leader, now embarking on a journey to reconnect isolated islands, facing new challenges that test her growth. Cravalho's voice work evolved to reflect this, incorporating deeper emotional layers drawn from her own experiences transitioning from teenager to young adult. In interviews, she discussed how returning to the role felt like reuniting with an old friend, allowing her to infuse Moana with newfound confidence while retaining the character's adventurous spirit. Her career post-Moana has flourished, including live-action roles in Rise, 2018, on NBC, where she played Lilet Suarez, a high school student navigating drama club dynamics, and Crush, 2022, on Hulu, portraying a track coach in a queer rom-com. She also starred as Janice in the 2024 musical adaptation of Mean Girls, showcasing her singing prowess in numbers like Apex Predator. Cravalho's advocacy for Indigenous representation has been prominent. She executive produced The Power, 2023, on Prime Video and voiced Haley Banks in Haley's On It 2023 to 2024. For Moana 2, director Dana Ledoux Miller praised Cravalho's precision and humor in the booth, noting how she physically embodied Moana, enhancing scenes of vulnerability and triumph. This casting choice underscores Disney's commitment to cultural continuity, with Cravalho also voicing Moana in the Hawaiian dub, bridging her personal heritage with the film's narrative. Dwayne Johnson's return as Maui in Moana 2 brings back the charismatic demigod whose shape-shifting abilities and larger-than-life personality were central to the original's success. Johnson, born Wayne Douglas Johnson on May 2, 1972, in Hayward, California, to wrestling royalty. His father Rocky Johnson and grandfather Peter Maivia transitioned from WWE superstar The Rock to Hollywood icon. His Polynesian roots, through his Samoan mother Rada Maivia, made him an ideal fit for Maui, a character inspired by Pacific mythology. In the 2016 film, Johnson's booming voice and improvisational flair, including ad-libs in songs like You're Welcome, elevated Maui from boastful trickster to relatable hero. For the sequel, Maui reunites with Moana after 3 years, facing vulnerabilities like losing his powers, which Johnson portrayed with emotional depth. Directors highlighted how Johnson's real-life charisma mirrored Maui's, especially in interactions with new crew members like Money, a Maui fanboy. Johnson's career spans action blockbusters like the Fast Furious series, 2011 to 2023, where he played Luke Hobbs, and family films such as Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, 2017. He starred in Black Adam, 2022, as the DC anti-hero, and Red One, 2024, as a Sanda rescuing mercenary. Beyond acting, he's a producer via 7 Bucks Productions and serves on TKO Group's board. In Moana 2 interviews, Johnson shared how voicing Maui allowed exploration of themes like humility, drawing from his wrestling days. His family ties extend to casting. Daughters Jasmine and Tiana voice Moana B's fan club members, and mother Ida voices a villager, adding personal layers. This familial involvement reflects Johnson's advocacy for Pacific representation, seen in his production of Young Iraq, 2021 to 2023, a semi-autobiographical series. Rachel House reprises her role as Gramatala in Moana 2, the wise ancestral guide who appears as a spirit manta ray, offering counsel during Moana's perilous voyage. House, born Rachel Jessica Tiamirama House on October 20, 1971, in Auckland, New Zealand, of M.A. diaresis Ori, K.A. diaresis Ido, Inga diaresis T Mutanga, T.A. diaresis Diawa, descent, brings cultural depth to Tela, emphasizing storytelling and heritage. Her acting career began after graduating from Toi Wakaari, New Zealand Drama School in 1992, with early roles in theatre and shorts like Queenie and Pete, 1998. House gained international acclaim in Whale Rider, 2003, as Grandmother Flowers, showcasing her ability to portray strong matriarchal figures. In the original Moana, Tala's death and spiritual return were pivotal, and House's warm, resonant voice captured the character's mystical essence. For the sequel, Tala's guidance is crucial in scenes involving ancient curses, with House also voicing the character in the M.A. diaresis Ori dub. Her collaboration with Taika Waititi spans 6 films, including Hunt for the Wilder People, 2016, as Paula, Thor, Ragnarok, 2017, as Topaz, and Next Goal Wins, 2023. House voiced Terry in Pixar's Soul, 2020, and directed her debut feature The Mountain, 2024. Directors of Moana 2 noted House's intuitive understanding of Tala's role in fostering Moana's growth, drawing from her own experiences as an acting coach and advocate for indigenous narratives. Timry Morrison returns as Chief 2 in Moana 2, Moana's protective father whose leadership on Maui evolves as he supports her expanded quests. Morrison, born Timur Derek Morrison on December 26, 1960, in Rotorua, New Zealand, of M.A. diaresis Ori, Te Arawa and Teui, in Scottish descent, trained at Toi Wakaari and debuted in Rangi's Catch, 1972. As a child, his breakout was Jake the Mushek in Once Were Warriors, 1994, portraying domestic violence with raw intensity. In the first Moana, 2's fear of the ocean stemmed from personal loss, and Morrison's deep voice conveyed authority and tenderness. Unlike the original, where Christopher Jackson sang for him, Morrison handles his own singing in the sequel, adding authenticity. His Star Wars roles as Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, 2002, and Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, 2019, and The Book of Boba Fett, 2021 to 2022, showcase his action prowess. Morrison played Tom Curry in Aquaman, 2018, and its 2023 sequel, and voiced Boba in games. For Moana 2, He voices 2 in the mscinemafilmreviews dub, emphasizing cultural pride. Directors praised Morrison's portrayal of 2's growth, mirroring his own journey from local actor to global star. Nicole Scherzinger reprises Sina, Mona's supportive mother and chiefess, whose nurturing presence grounds the family amid oceanic adventures in Moana 2. Scherzinger, born Nicole Praskovia Ilikolani on June 29, 1978, in Honolulu, Hawaii, of Filipino, native Hawaiian, and Ukrainian descent, rose as lead singer of the Pussycat Dolls, 2003 to 2010, with hits like Don't Cha. Her solo career includes albums Killer Love, 2011, and Big Fat Lie, 2014, and judging on The X Factor and The Masked Singer. In the original Moana, Sina's quiet strength complemented 2's caution, and Scherzinger's melodic voice shown in family scenes. For the sequel, Sina's role expands with Saimea's introduction, highlighting maternal bonds. Scherzinger's theater background includes Rent, 2010, as Maureen and Cats, 2014, as Grisabella, earning an Olivier nomination. She stars as Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard on Broadway, 2024, winning acclaim. Directors noted Scherzinger's emotional depth in voice sessions, drawing from her Hawaiian roots. Jermaine Clement returns as Tamatoa in a mid-credits scene of Moana 2, the flamboyant giant crab whose shiny obsession provides comic relief. Clement, born Jermaine Tad Mohana Clement on January 10, 1974, in Masterton, New Zealand, of Mscinemafilmreviews Ori, Mscinemafilmreviews Tika Ungunyu, descent, studied at Victoria University and formed Flight of the Conchords with Tga Waititi and Brad McKenzie. The duo's HBO series, 2007 to 2009, won a Grammy for their album. In the first Moana, Tamatoa's shiny number was a highlight, with Clement's eccentric delivery. For the sequel, his cameo ties into post-credits antics. Clement's film roles include What We Do in the Shadows, 2014, as Vladislav, which he adapted into a FX series, 2019 to 2024, and voicing in Despicable Me, 2010, as Jerry. He directed Dawn vs. Lightning, 2022, and starred in Avatar, The Way of Water, 2022, as Dr. Ian Garvin. Directors enjoyed Clement's riffing in sessions, adding humor to Tamatoa. Alan Tudyk reprises Hi Hi, the dim-witted rooster whose accidental heroism adds slapstick to Moana 2. Tudyk, born Alan Ray Tudyk on March 16, 1971, in El Paso, Texas, studied at Juilliard after Lon Morris College. His Broadway debut was Epic Proportions, 1999, and he broke through as Wash and Firefly, 2002 to 2003. In the original Moana, Hi Hi's clucks were improvised, becoming a fan favorite. For the sequel, Hi Hi's antics involve crew interactions. Tudyk's Disney voice work includes King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph, 2012, Duke Weaselton in Zootopia, 2016, and K2SO in Rogue One, 2016. He stars in Resident Alien, 2021, as Harry Vanderspagel. Directors appreciated Tudyk's versatility in animal sounds. Kelsey Lambert-Suda voices Saimea, Moana's energetic 3-year-old sister, in her debut role for Moana 2. Born in Japan and raised in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Lambert-Suda, around 8 during casting, brings youthful authenticity to Saimea, who idolizes Moana and represents home ties. Her name, inspired by Game of Thrones, hasn't hindered her. She embraced the role, describing Saimea as cute and fiery. Animators matched Saimea's design to young Moana's scrappiness. Lambert-Suda's interviews highlight excitement meeting Cravalho, fostering a real sisterly bond. This casting spotlights emerging Hawaiian talent. Auliʻi Chung voices Money, the lore-obsessed Maui fanboy and storyteller in Moana's crew for Moana 2. Born April 27, 1994, in Oahu, Hawaii, Chung grew up in entertainment, with parents as performers. He started fire knife dancing at 7, performing at Aulani Resort's Luau since 2016. Money's enthusiasm and strength aid the journey, with Chung's Hawaiian heritage enhancing cultural accuracy. His roles include Rescue, High Surf, 2024, and Sis, Hawaii, 2024, plus Lilo Stitch remake, 2025. Directors noted Chung's fun-loving energy mirrored Money's. Rose Matafio voices Lotto, the quirky engineer maintaining the canoe in Moana 2. Born February 25, 1992, in Auckland, New Zealand, of Samoan and Croatian descent, Matafio began stand-up at 15, winning the Billy T Award, 2013. Lotto's innovative tweaks add humor, with Matafio's comedic timing shining. Her series Starstruck, 2021-2023, which she created and stars in as Jessie, earned BAFTA nods. She wrote for Funny Girls, 2015-2018, and won Edinburgh Fringe's Best Comedy Show, 2018, for Horn Dog. Directors praised her brainy portrayal of Lotto. David Fane voices Keel, the grumpy farmer ensuring food supplies in Moana 2. Born December 28, 1966, in Auckland of Samoan descent, Fane graduated Toi Wakauri in 1992. Keel's devotion to plants contrasts his demeanor, adding depth. Fane co-created Broughdown, 2004-2009, voicing multiple characters, and starred in The Tattooist, 2007. Recent roles include Fang in Our Flag Means Death, 2022-2023. Directors appreciated Fang's versatile eccentricity. Auliʻi Fraser voices Mate Angie, the mysterious bad controlling enforcer challenging Moana in Moana 2. Born in Rotorua, New Zealand, of Ima diaresis Ori, Waikato, Inga diaresis Te Pakenga, Inga diaresis Ita diaresis Menairi, Inga diaresis Te Kaunganyu, descent. Fraser is a singer-songwriter and producer. Maitangie's mercurial nature, inspired by Pacific lore, tests Moana's beliefs. Fraser starred in Shortland Street, 2019, as Becky Endahikroa, 2018-2021, as Chantil. She voiced in Frozen Rio Ima diaresis Ori, 2022. Directors designed Maitangie as a fun, gravity-defying antagonist, with Fraser reprising in the Ima diaresis Ori dub. Gerald Ramsey voices Tatai Vesa, Moana's ancestor guiding her legacy in Moana 2. Limited public details on Ramsey, but his role ties into ancestral themes, emphasizing wayfinding heritage. His casting supports the film's focus on Polynesian history. Tofaiga Fepuli voices Nalo, the storm god antagonist in the mid-credits of Moana 2. Fepuli, a Samoan New Zealand comedian, brings menace to Nalo. Known for comedy, his dramatic shift had surprise. Jasmine and Tiana Johnson voice Mona B's fan club members, while Lotta Johnson voices a villager, infusing family warmth from Dwayne Johnson's relatives. This personal touch highlights generational connections. Moana 2, 2024, production, release, and reception. Production development and pre-production. The genesis of Moana 2 began in December 2020. When Walt Disney Animation Studios Chief Creative Officer Jennifer Lee announced during a Disney Investor Day meeting that a long-form musical comedy series titled Moana, the series, based on the 2016 film, was in development at the studio for Disney+. The series was initially slated for release in 2023 and was planned to consist of 5 episodes. By August 2021, it was reported that Asnat Shearer, who had produced the original film, would once again serve as producer for the series. In January 2022, David Derrick Jr., who had worked as a storyboard artist for the first film, was announced as the writer and director of the project. The series entered development simultaneously with the live-action remake of Moana, according to Jared Bush, a writer of the film and screenplay writer of the 2016 animated film. Danilo Du Miller came onto the series in early 2023 as a consulting writer, having finished writing the live-action remake with Bush, and turned in several revisions for the series. According to Bush, the director and the writers repeatedly received feedback during development to the effect of, "We love this story. Why is it not going on the biggest screen you can possibly imagine?" In January 2024, Walt Disney Studios president Alan Bergman informed the team that they needed to shift rapidly from making a 5-episode streaming series to a second Moana feature film. This last-minute story pivot was possible because nearly all the actual animation work for Disney animated films is not performed until the final year before the release. Everything before that is development. In February 2024, Disney CEO Bob Iger officially announced that the series had been reworked into a theatrical sequel titled Moana 2, with Derek and Shira remaining attached to the project. Iger explained that this occurred after Disney executives saw early footage. "We were impressed with what we saw and knew it deserved a theatrical release." By the release of the first trailer in May, Jason Hand and Dana Ledoux Miller were confirmed as co-directors alongside Derek, while Christina Chan and Yvette Marino were revealed to replace Shearer as the film's producers. Shortly after the announcement that the series was being repurposed into a theatrical feature film, Auliʻi Cravalho and Dwayne Johnson were confirmed to reprise their respective roles as Moana and Maui. The decision to pivot from a streaming series to a theatrical release was widely speculated to be an attempt by Disney to shift costs away from Disney Plus and boost theatrical revenues. The rapid transition created significant challenges for the production team, who had to adapt a multi-episode narrative structure into a single feature-length film within a compressed timeframe. The production faced considerable scrutiny regarding the tight timeline. Reports emerged suggesting that getting the movie ready for a November 2024 release in a worthy state was feared to be nearly impossible by those working on it. Unlike typical Disney animated features that take 5 years to develop and produce, Moana 2 was being transformed from a series into a film with approximately 6 months remaining before its theatrical release date. The cultural authenticity of the project remained a priority throughout development. Like the first Moana film, the filmmakers assembled a team of cultural experts in anthropology, history, dance and movement, canoes and navigation, linguistics, and various cultural practices from the Pacific Islands. They provided cultural advice and support for design, choreography reference, and language throughout the film, ensuring that the representation of Polynesian culture remained respectful and accurate. The voice recording process brought new dimensions to the characters. According to Cravalho, this film was the first time that a Disney princess has been allowed to age. When Cravalho returned to the recording studio after the first film to record lines for Disney fireworks shows, Disney on Ice, and Disney Lego Princess, she was repeatedly asked to raise her vocal pitch to sound like herself as a teenager at age 16. She was delighted when the film's directors allowed her to record Moana's lines at age 19 with her natural voice as a woman in her early 20s. The songwriting team underwent a significant change for this sequel. Mark Mancina and Opeda Iafoi, the composers and co-songwriters of the first film, returned to score and write the songs, while Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear provided additional songs. Walt Disney Music president Tom McDougall recruited Barlow and Bear in the fall of 2021, after hearing the quality of their work on the unofficial Bridgerton musical, and about a year later, in 2022, they began to work with the production team on writing songs. Miranda assisted by providing Barlow with a stack of books on how to write lyrics for musical films. Bear focused on studying the existing Moana score, with its Polynesian instrumentation, and learning how to write songs with that musical vocabulary. Cravalho stated that having Barlow and Bear, two young women, help voice Moana's story, which is a young woman finding her way, "I couldn't think of a better duo than Barlow and Bear." The absence of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who had written the songs for the original film, was later explained to be due to scheduling conflicts. Miranda had become one of the most celebrated songwriters in contemporary musical theater and film, and his contributions to the first Moana had been instrumental in its success. The decision to bring in new songwriting talent represented both an opportunity and a challenge for the production team. Filming as an animated feature, Moana 2 did not involve traditional live-action filming. However, the animation production process itself was complex and involved multiple phases of creative development. Animation was handled at Walt Disney Animation Studios' Vancouver studio when it was being developed as a series, while pre-production and storyboarding took place at the Burbank studio. It is the first feature film to be made at the Vancouver studio. Disney Animation's decision to largely outsource the animation work for Moana 2 to its new Vancouver studio was highly controversial. In May 2025, the Animation Guild published a report estimating that as a result, California had lost as much as 817 jobs, $87 million in wages, and $178 million in state gross domestic product. The Vancouver studio had been established in 2021, and Moana 2 represented its first major theatrical production. The studio was not subject to Animation Guild regulations, unlike its Burbank counterpart, which raised concerns within the animation industry about the future of union jobs and working conditions for animators. Many industry professionals expressed frustration that Disney appeared to be shifting production to non-union facilities, potentially undermining labor protections that had been fought for over decades. The animation process for Moana 2 utilized cutting-edge technology and techniques. Character animation remained a handcrafted process, with animators going through and creating each individual frame. The animation team worked to capture the evolution of Moana's character, showing her growth over the 3 years since the first film. The animators focused on subtle changes in her posture, stance, and overall athleticism to reflect her increased confidence and experience as a leader in her community. Special attention was paid to blending different animation styles. At the Annecy International Animation Film Festival, it was revealed that veterans Mark Hinn and Eric Goldberg would supervise a team of apprentices of hand-drawn animators for Maui's tattoos. The tattoo character Minnie Maui required traditional hand-drawn animation that would then be integrated with the computer-generated animation of Maui himself. This hybrid approach demanded careful coordination between the hand-drawn animation team and the CG animators. The animation reference choreographer Diana Laiafa, a member of the film's Oceanic Cultural Trust, played a crucial role in developing authentic movements, dances, and expressions for the characters. Her expertise ensured that the physical performances of the animated characters reflected genuine Polynesian cultural practices and traditions. This attention to cultural detail extended to every song sequence and movement throughout the film. The production faced unique challenges in animating environmental elements. The team had to create complex weather systems, including tornadoes, tidal waves, lightning strikes, and stormy waters. This required collaboration across multiple departments to develop new technological solutions and animation techniques. The storm god Nalo represented a particular challenge, as the character needed to embody the power and majesty of natural weather phenomena while remaining visually distinct and threatening. New characters introduced in the sequel required extensive design work. Moana's younger sister Simea demanded particular attention, with the character art director drawing inspiration from real children to capture authentic details like hair falling into faces during play. The design team worked to ensure that each new character had a distinctive visual identity that would complement the existing cast while adding fresh visual interest to the ensemble. The film's ocean environments required sophisticated simulation and rendering technology. Water has long been one of the most challenging elements to animate convincingly, and the Moana franchise set high standards with its first installment. The sequel needed to match or exceed those visual achievements while introducing new underwater environments and water-based action sequences. Post-production. The post-production phase of Moana 2 involved extensive work in rendering, lighting, effects, and sound design. The film leveraged Disney's proprietary Hyperion renderer, which had undergone significant development since the first Moana film. While Disney had used Hyperion renderer to make several sequels to previous Disney animation films, Moana 2 is the first time they used Hyperion to make a sequel to a previous film that also used Hyperion. From a technical perspective, the time between the first and second Moana films is filled with almost a decade of continual advancement in rendering technology and production pipeline. At the time of the first Moana, Hyperion was only a few years old and the team spent significant time fleshing out various still underdeveloped features and systems in the renderer. Going into the second Moana, Hyperion had become an extremely mature, feature-rich, battle-tested production renderer with which the team could make essentially anything they could imagine. The production pipeline for Moana 2 represented a significant technological evolution from the first film. The first Moana was made mostly on proprietary internal data formats, while Moana 2 was made using the latest iteration of Disney's cutting-edge modern USD pipeline. The modern USD pipeline granted the production many amazing new capabilities and far more flexibility, to the point where it became possible to move the entire lighting workflow to a new DCC without needing to blow up the entire pipeline. Since the film Encanto, the studio had adopted the OpenUSD framework across the majority of its animation pipeline. By using OpenUSD to define, exchange and simulate 3D data, Artists and developers were able to work more seamlessly across industry standard platforms. This technological infrastructure enabled more efficient collaboration between different departments and allowed for more sophisticated visual effects. The rendering team developed specialized systems for Moana 2. A completely new water rendering system was created as part of the film's overall new water effects workflow. The original Moana had required Disney Animation to invent new techniques for water simulation and rendering because commercial tools at the time couldn't handle what the movie required. For the sequel, the team built upon these foundations while developing new capabilities to handle the expanded scope of water-based sequences. Volume rendering received particular attention for the storm battle sequence in the film's third act. The complexity of rendering volumetric effects like storm clouds, mist, and atmospheric phenomena required sophisticated algorithms and substantial computational resources. The rendering team worked to balance visual quality with production efficiency, ensuring that shots could be rendered within reasonable timeframes while maintaining the high visual standards expected of a Disney animated feature. Walt Disney Animation Studios was in the process of converting all of its story and editorial pipelines to OpenTimeline.io, and it had become a core technology in their new internal Macos app, Nautilus. The software enabled directors to quickly identify their favorite takes from voice talent recording sessions, assemble them into a timeline, attach notes for editorial, and send them down the pipeline. This streamlined workflow was particularly valuable given the compressed production schedule. The lighting department employed next-generation interactive lighting systems that extensively leveraged hardware GPU ray tracing. Moana 2 saw the widest deployment yet of this system within Disney Animation. The interactive nature of the lighting tools allowed artists to iterate more quickly on lighting setups, seeing results in near real time rather than waiting for lengthy render times. This capability proved essential for maintaining the production schedule while achieving the desired visual quality. Effects animation played a crucial role in bringing the world of Moana 2 to life. The effects team created everything from splashing water and motion spray to magical transformations and environmental phenomena. Each effect needed to integrate seamlessly with the character animation and lighting while serving the story's emotional and dramatic needs. Text was an integral part of Disney Animation's material authoring toolset. Text was used everywhere in the world of Oceania, from the skin of Moana and her crew, to Maui's tattoos, to the worn wood of the canoe, and to the disco-pulsing tunnels of the giant clam. Look development, effects, and lighting artists relied on text to bring the worlds and lighting to life, ensuring consistent and high-quality texture work across all assets. The sound design and mixing process involved creating an immersive audio experience that would work effectively in theatrical presentation. The sound team recorded and processed thousands of individual sound effects, from subtle environmental ambiances to dramatic action sequences. The musical score needed to be mixed to allow dialogue and effects to be heard clearly while maintaining the emotional impact of the songs and orchestral underscore. The editorial team worked to shape the narrative from the episodic structure inherited from its series origins into a cohesive feature film. This involved making difficult decisions about pacing, scene order, and which story elements to emphasize or minimize. The condensed production timeline meant that traditional iterative processes had to be accelerated, with editorial working closely with directors to ensure that each cut served the overall narrative effectively. Color grading and final image processing represented the last major technical steps before the film's completion. The color team worked to establish consistent visual palettes for different environments and sequences while ensuring that the overall look of the film matched the aesthetic established by the first Moana. The tropical island environments needed to feel vibrant and inviting, while the dangerous waters and storm sequences required a more ominous and threatening color palette. Quality control procedures involved reviewing every frame of the film multiple times to identify and correct any technical issues, continuity errors, or visual artifacts. Given the tight production schedule, maintaining Disney's high-quality standards required careful attention and efficient problem-solving throughout the post-production process. Music. The musical component of Moana 2 represented both continuity with the first film and a significant creative evolution. Mark Mancina and Opeda Iafoi returned to compose the film score, while Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear contributed songs. replacing Lin-Manuel Miranda from the first film. Barlow and Bear are the youngest and the first all-female songwriting duo to write the songs for a Disney film. The collaboration between Mscinemafilmreviews, Barlow, and Bear brought together different musical traditions and contemporary sensibilities. Mscinemafilmreviews' orchestral composition expertise, Filmreviews' deep knowledge of Pacific Island music traditions, and Barlow and Bear's contemporary pop sensibilities created a unique musical blend that honored the first film's sound while introducing fresh elements. On November 7, 2024, Disney revealed a full track list, along with the first single Beyond by Cravalho, which was billed as a spiritual sequel to the original Moana anthem, How Far I'll Go. On November 11, Johnson revealed his song Can I Get a Chihu? As a female empowerment song for Moana's character, which follows the tune of Maui's original You're Welcome. The original motion picture soundtrack was released on November 22. Beyond was designed to capture Moana's evolved perspective as a more experienced wayfinder and leader. The song explores themes of pushing boundaries, exploring the unknown, and embracing the challenges that lie ahead. Cravalho's vocal performance demonstrates her maturation as both a performer and as the voice of Moana, utilizing the deeper registers of her adult voice to convey strength and determination. Can I Get a Chihu? Served as Maui's major musical moment in the film, continuing his character's tradition of boastful yet endearing self-promotion. The song's connection to You're Welcome from the first film created a musical callback that audiences would recognize while establishing its own distinct identity. Johnson's charismatic performance brought energy and humor to the sequence. The soundtrack included additional songs such as We're Back, Finding the Way, What Could Be Better Than This, Get Lost, and Mana Vava, each serving specific narrative and emotional functions within the film. Finding the Way appeared both in its original form and as a reprise, providing musical bookends to key story moments. The variety of musical styles across the soundtrack reflected the diverse environments and emotional tones throughout Moana's journey. Tiveka, the band led by Auliʻi, contributed significantly to the film's musical identity. The group's authentic Pacific Island instrumentation and vocal traditions provided cultural grounding for the contemporary musical arrangements. Additional vocalists supplemented Tiveka's performances, creating a rich, layered choral textures that evoked the communal nature of Pacific Island musical traditions. The orchestral score by Mancina wove through the film's narrative, supporting dramatic moments, enhancing comedic beats, and providing emotional underscore for quieter character scenes. The orchestra included traditional Western instruments alongside Pacific Island percussion and other cultural instruments, creating a sonic palette that bridged different musical traditions. Beyond and Can I Get a Chihu? Were nominated for the 2024 Hollywood Music and Media Award for Best Original Song in an Animated Film, and Beyond has been nominated for a 2025 Society of Composers Lyricists Award for Outstanding Original Song for a Comedy or Musical Visual Media Production. These nominations recognize the quality and impact of the new songs, though they also highlighted the challenge of following Miranda's acclaimed work on the original film. Critics and audiences had mixed responses to the musical elements of Moana 2. While many appreciated the songs and found them enjoyable, comparisons to the instantly iconic songs from the first film were inevitable. How Far I'll Go and You're Welcome had become cultural phenomena, with millions of streams and covers. The new songs face the difficult task of living up to those high expectations while establishing their own identity. The recording process for the songs involved multiple sessions with the voice cast. Cravalho worked extensively with the songwriting team to find the right emotional tones and vocal approaches for each song. Her experience since the first film had developed her vocal technique and range, allowing her to bring new dimensions to Moana's musical moments. Johnson's recording sessions similarly benefited from his comfort with the character and his natural musical timing. His performance background and charisma translated effectively into the recording booth, where he could experiment with different vocal inflections and comedic timing to maximize the entertainment value of his songs. The music production involved recording sessions in multiple locations with various ensemble groups. Orchestra sessions captured the live instrumental performances that would form the foundation of the score. Choral sessions recorded the group vocals that appear throughout the film. Individual instrumental soloists contributed featured performances on traditional Pacific Island instruments. The mix mixing and mastering process balanced all these musical elements with dialogue and sound effects to create the final soundscape. The mix needed to work effectively across different playback systems, from large theatrical sound systems to home television speakers to smartphone audio. Different mixes were created for theatrical release, home video, and streaming presentations, each optimized for its intended playback environment. Released theatrical Moana 2 had its world premiere at the Lanuku'onui Cultural Institute in Kapolei, Hawaii on November 21, 2024, and was released in theaters in the United States on November 27, 2024. The choice of Hawaii for the world premiere honored the film's Pacific Island cultural roots and allowed for a celebration that included members of the Oceanic Cultural Trust and representatives from various Pacific Island communities. The first trailer for the film was released on May 29, 2024. After debuting at CinemaCon the month before. The trailer earned over 178 million views in its first 24 hours across all platforms, breaking a new record as the most watched trailer of all time for a Disney animated film, a record previously held by Frozen 2 and Pixar's Inside Out 2. This extraordinary level of engagement demonstrated the continued popularity of the Moana franchise and built significant anticipation for the sequel's release. A sneak peek of the film was screened at the 2024 Annecy International Animation Film Festival on June 14, 2024. On August 9, 2024, Cravalho and Johnson appeared at the Disney Entertainment Showcase at the 2024 D23 Expo in Anaheim, California to promote the film and release a new trailer, which was released online shortly thereafter. The marketing campaign for Moana to emphasize the film's return to theatrical exhibition after Disney had initially planned it as a streaming series. The promotional materials highlighted the epic scope of the new adventure, the introduction of new characters, and the reunion of Moana and Maui. Television spots, online advertising, and cross-promotional partnerships with various brands created widespread awareness of the film's release. The Thanksgiving release date positioned Moana 2 strategically within the holiday movie-going season. Thanksgiving weekend traditionally represents one of the most lucrative periods for family films, as schools are closed and families gather together. Disney's confidence in releasing Moana 2 during this premium release window indicated their expectations for the film's commercial performance. The theatrical release strategy included both standard and premium format presentations. The film was available in traditional 2D presentations as well as 3D versions in select theaters. While 3D cinema has become less prevalent than during its peak in the early 2010s, Disney continued to offer 3D presentations for audiences who preferred the enhanced depth perception and immersive qualities of the format. IMAX and other large format presentations provided additional premium viewing options. The expansive ocean vistas and action sequences in Moana 2 were designed to take advantage of these larger screens, offering a more immersive theatrical experience. The sound mixing was optimized to leverage the enhanced audio systems available in premium auditoriums. International release dates varied by market, with many territories receiving the film day and date with the United States release. This simultaneous global release strategy helped minimize piracy concerns and allowed the film to generate worldwide conversation and social media engagement simultaneously. Some markets, however, received the film slightly later due to local distribution considerations or to avoid conflicts with other major releases. The film's availability across thousands of screens worldwide represented a major theatrical commitment from Disney. This wide release strategy aimed to maximize the film's commercial potential during its opening weekend and capitalize on the Thanksgiving holiday period when family moviegoing traditionally peaks. Home media Moana 2 became available on digital platforms on January 28, 2025. The film was available for purchase or rental on platforms such as Prime Video, YouTube, Apple TV Plus, and Fandango at Home, with rental prices starting at $24.99 and purchase options at $29.99. The physical media release followed on March 18, 2025, when Moana 2 became available on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and DVD. The release included a limited edition collectible steelbook featuring custom artwork and packaging, as well as standard Blu-ray combo packs that included Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copies. The home media releases included extensive bonus features designed to provide additional value and behind-the-scenes insight for fans. A full-length sing-along version allowed viewers to sing along with on-screen lyrics to their favorite songs. Call of the Wayfinder celebrated Pacific wayfinding with the Moana 2 filmmakers meeting real-life navigators from the Polynesian Voyaging Society, including CEO Naye Thompson and other crew members discussing the cultural renaissance of wayfinding. A new voyage took viewers on a deep dive with the filmmakers and artistic leads as they revealed the development of the sequel and discussed the impact that the first film had across the globe. Auliʻi Cravalho and Dwayne Johnson talked about what it meant to them to return to their roles. Fun in the Booth provided a look inside the recording booth with the actors bringing their characters to life. The deleted scenes section included an introduction by directors David G. Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, and Dana Ledoux Miller, offering context for scenes that didn't make the final cut. Additional featurettes explored various aspects of the production. Songs of the Sea featured interviews with songwriters Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, Pacific Islands music legend Opida Iafoi, and composer Mark Mancina as they discussed creating the music and provided insight into writing each song. Kakamaori Chronicles offered more information about the coconut-armored pirates who appeared in both films. The bonus content also included selections from individual songs, allowing viewers to enjoy their favorite musical numbers without watching the entire film. Multiple language options and subtitles made the home media releases accessible to international audiences and those with hearing impairments. The film became available for streaming on Disney Plus on March 12, 2025. Approximately 3.5 months after its theatrical release. This timing followed Disney's typical release window strategy, balancing the desire to drive subscribers to Disney Plus with the need to maximize theatrical and home video revenues before making the film available as part of a streaming subscription. The Disney Plus release made Moana 2 accessible to millions of subscribers worldwide who might not have seen it theatrically or purchased the home video release. The streaming availability also allowed for repeat viewings, which historically have been important for Disney animated films as children often watch their favorites multiple times. Bundle options provided additional value for consumers. A 2-film collection featuring both Moana and Moana 2 was offered at a discounted price compared to purchasing the films separately. This encouraged fans to own the complete story arc while introducing new viewers to the original film if they had not previously experienced it. The home media releases employed various distribution channels. Physical discs were available through traditional retail outlets, online retailers, and Disney's own distribution channels. Digital purchases and rentals were facilitated through major digital storefronts, ensuring wide availability across different platforms and ecosystems. The physical media distribution marked a transition in Disney's home entertainment strategy, as Moana 2 became the first Walt Disney Animation Studios film to be distributed by Studio Distribution Services on physical media in the United States and Canada after Disney shifted their physical media distribution to Sony Pictures Entertainment before Sony joined this joint venture distribution unit between Warner Bros. Home Entertainment and Universal Pictures Home Entertainment in August 2024. Marketing for the home media releases emphasized the bonus content and the ability to own and watch the film repeatedly. Promotional campaigns targeted families who had enjoyed the theatrical experience and wanted to bring the film home, as well as those who had missed the theatrical release but wanted to experience the complete Moana story. Reception box office. Moana 2 grossed $460.4 million in the United States and Canada, and $598.8 million in other territories, for a total of $1.059 billion worldwide. This extraordinary financial performance exceeded expectations and established Moana 2 as one of the most commercially successful animated films ever released. In the United States and Canada, Moana 2 was originally projected to gross $115 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend. After making $57.8 million on its first day, including $13.8 million from Tuesday night previews, both the highest ever for a Walt Disney Animation film and Thanksgiving week release, 5-day estimates were raised to $175 million. The film made a record $28 million on Thanksgiving Day, nearly doubling the 2019 film Frozen 2's previous high of $14.9 million. The film achieved a 5-day domestic opening of $225.2 million, representing the biggest 5-day debut in history and surpassing the Super Mario Bros. Movie's $204.6 million. It also delivered both the top Thanksgiving opening of all time and the biggest Thanksgiving gross of all time by a mile, beating Frozen's $93.6 million and Frozen 2's $125 million. The worldwide 5-day gross of $389 million surpassed the 2023 film The Super Mario Bros. Movie as the highest such opening for an animated film. The film's 3-day weekend haul of $139.7 million represented the biggest opening ever for a Walt Disney Animation title. The film's commercial success continued through subsequent weekends. In its second weekend, the film made $52 million, a drop of 62.8%, remaining in first place. In its third weekend, the film retained the top spot again, grossing $26.6 million, dropping 48% from its second weekend. The film was finally dethroned in its fourth weekend, grossing $13.1 million and finishing in fourth place. On January 19, 2025, the film crossed the $1 billion threshold, becoming the third film released in 2024 to do so, joining Inside Out 2 and Deadpool Wolverine. Moana 2 became Disney's third 2024 release to join the $1 billion club, capping off a stellar year for the film studio. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $415 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations and other costs, box office grosses, television and streaming, and home media revenues, making Moana 2 the second most profitable film of 2024. With a reported production budget of only $150 million, the film's financial performance represented an extraordinary return on investment. Moana 2 became the 44th highest grossing movie of all time. The film became the third highest grossing 2024 release worldwide and one of only 3 2024 movies that surpassed $1 billion at the worldwide box office. Moana 2 surpassed Despicable Me 4's $969 million gross to become the second highest grossing animated movie of 2024. Remaining behind fellow Disney project Inside Out 2 at $1.7 billion. When compared to animated movies of all time, Moana 2 currently ranks as the 11th highest grossing animated movie of all time at the worldwide box office. When it comes to domestic box office results, Moana 2 is the 7th highest grossing animated movie of all time. International markets contributed significantly to the film's success. France ranked as the film's top international market with $32.5 million, followed by UK on $27.2 million, Germany on $19.7 million, Mexico on $19.1 million, and Brazil on $16 million. China generated $10.8 million. Moana 2 ranked as a top 5 2024 Hollywood release in France, Italy, Germany, Poland, South Africa, and Kazakhstan, and was the highest grossing Walt Disney Animation Studios release ever in Chile, Egypt and Turkey, and the second highest Disney release in Poland, CIS, East, West Africa, Serbia, Slovakia and UE. The film's box office success validated Disney's decision to transform the project from a streaming series into a theatrical feature. The theatrical revenues far exceeded what the series might have generated for Disney Plus subscriber growth and engagement. The film's performance also demonstrated continued audience appetite for theatrical experiences of high-quality animated content, contradicting narratives that streaming had permanently diminished theatrical exhibition. Audience demographics for Moana 2 skewed heavily female at 65%, with 25% of ticket buyers under age 12 and another 15% between ages 13 and 17. The film played to an ethnically diverse audience, Reflecting both the broad appeal of the franchise and the importance of representation in reaching varied demographic groups, the film's box office success validated Disney's decision to transform the project from a streaming series into a theatrical feature. The theatrical revenues far exceeded what the series might have generated for Disney Plus subscriber growth and engagement. The film's performance also demonstrated continued audience appetite for theatrical experiences of high-quality animated content, contradicting narratives that streaming had permanently diminished theatrical exhibition. Audience demographics for Moana 2 skewed heavily female at 65%, with 25% of ticket buyers under age 12 and another 15% between ages 13 and 17. The film played to an ethnically diverse audience, reflecting both the broad appeal of the franchise and the importance of representation in reaching varied demographic groups. Critical response. The critical reception for Moana 2 proved considerably more mixed than the enthusiastic embrace that had greeted the original film. While the sequel achieved extraordinary commercial success, reviewers offered divided opinions about its artistic merits and narrative effectiveness. The film holds an approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on reviews from critics, with an average rating reflecting this split in critical opinion. Many critics acknowledge that Moana 2 delivered an entertaining animated adventure that would satisfy family audiences, particularly younger viewers who had connected with the first film. The animation quality received widespread praise, with reviewers noting the stunning visual achievements, particularly in sequences depicting ocean environments, stormy weather, and underwater locations. The technical artistry demonstrated by Disney Animation remained at the highest industry standards. However, numerous critics expressed disappointment that the film failed to recapture the magic and originality of the first Moana. The narrative structure, inherited from the film's origins as a planned streaming series, came under particular scrutiny. Some reviewers felt the story lacked the emotional depth and cohesive storytelling that had made the original film so compelling. The episodic nature of certain sequences suggested the project's television origins, with the plot sometimes feeling more like connected episodes than a unified cinematic narrative. The songs and music represented a significant point of discussion in reviews. While critics generally praised the musical sequences as enjoyable and well performed, comparisons to Lin-Manuel Miranda's iconic songs from the original proved inevitable and often unfavorable. How Far I'll Go and You're Welcome had become cultural phenomena, and the new songs by Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, while competent and catchy, struggled to achieve the same level of instant memorability and cultural impact. Some reviewers felt that Beyond worked well as a spiritual successor to How Far I'll Go, but others found it derivative rather than evolutionary. Performance reviews were consistently positive for the returning voice cast. Auliʻi Cravalho's more mature vocal performance as an older Moana earned praise for capturing the character's growth and development. Critics appreciated that Cravalho was allowed to use her natural adult voice rather than artificially recreating her teenage timbre from the first film. Dwayne Johnson's return as Maui continued to charm reviewers and audiences, with his charismatic delivery and comedic timing remaining strong points. The new characters introduced in Moana 2 received mixed critical reactions. Moana's younger sister Saimia resonated with many reviewers as a sweet and endearing addition who provided emotional stakes for Moana's journey. The expanded crew for Moana's voyage offered opportunities for ensemble comedy and character dynamics, though some critics felt these new characters remained underdeveloped compared to the depth given to Moana and Maui in the original film. The film's villain, the storm god Nalo, generated significant criticism. Many reviewers noted that Nalo remained largely absent throughout most of the film, appearing primarily through environmental threats rather than as a fully realized antagonistic character. This approach contrasted sharply with Tka Diaresis from the first film, whose presence and eventual revelation provided powerful emotional resonance. The lack of a compelling, present antagonist weakened the dramatic tension for several critics. Thematic elements exploring wayfinding, cultural connection, and the importance of bringing communities together earned positive notices. Critics appreciated the film's continued respect for Polynesian culture and traditions, with the involvement of the Oceanic Cultural Trust ensuring authentic representation. The themes of exploration, discovery, and cultural preservation resonated with reviewers who valued the franchise's commitment to meaningful storytelling beyond simple adventure narratives. The pacing of Moana 2 emerged as another point of critical discussion. Some reviewers felt the film moved too quickly through its story beats, particularly in the third act, where significant plot developments occurred in rapid succession. Others appreciated the energetic pacing as appropriate for family entertainment, keeping younger audience members engaged throughout the runtime. The compressed production schedule may have contributed to these pacing issues, as the filmmakers worked to transform serialized storytelling into a cohesive feature-length narrative. Visual comedy and physical humor received generally positive responses. The Kakama'ora, the coconut-armored pirates from the first film, returned with expanded roles that provided entertaining action sequences and comedic moments. The film's willingness to embrace broad physical comedy while maintaining emotional authenticity balanced the tonal needs of family entertainment. Character development for Moana herself generated thoughtful critical analysis. Reviewers appreciated seeing Moana grapple with the responsibilities of leadership and the weight of expectations from her community. Her journey in this sequel focused less on personal discovery and more on community obligation, representing a natural evolution for the character. However, some critics felt this shift made Moana's personal arc less compelling than her journey of self-discovery in the first film. The film's climactic sequences received varied responses. Some critics found the resolution of the central conflict satisfying and emotionally resonant, while others felt the ending arrived too quickly or relied too heavily on convenient plot developments. The balance between action spectacle and emotional catharsis proved difficult to achieve, with opinions differing on whether the film succeeded in providing a worthy conclusion to Moana's latest adventure. Cultural representation remained a strong point in reviews. Critics consistently praised the film's commitment to authentic Polynesian representation, from the character designs and movements to the musical traditions and navigational knowledge depicted throughout the story. The involvement of Pacific Island consultants and the Oceanic Cultural Trust ensured that the sequel maintained the cultural integrity established by the first film. The technical achievements in animation received near universal acclaim. Reviewers marveled at the water simulations, lighting effects, and overall visual polish of Moana 2. The advancement in animation technology since the first film allowed for even more detailed and realistic environments while maintaining the stylized aesthetic that defined the franchise's visual identity. Hair, cloth, and water animation particularly impressed critics who noticed the technical sophistication in these challenging elements. Some reviewers contextualized Moana 2 within Disney Animation's broader output and the studio's recent track record. Comparisons to other recent Disney animated sequels proved varied, with some critics viewing Moana 2 as superior to certain direct-to-video sequels from Disney's past, while others held it to the standards of theatrical sequels like Frozen 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet. The consensus suggested that while Moana 2 maintained Disney's high production values, it represented a more modest creative achievement than the studio's best recent work. The film's accessibility to new viewers who hadn't seen the original Moana generated mixed opinions. Some critics felt the sequel provided sufficient context and stood reasonably well on its own, while others suggested that full appreciation of character relationships and world-building required familiarity with the first film. This balance between servicing existing fans and welcoming new audience members challenged the filmmakers throughout the production. Professional critics' assessments often differed from audience responses measured through various metrics. While critical aggregation sites showed more mixed professional reviews, audience scores tended toward more positive reactions. This gap suggested that while the film might not have achieved the critical consensus of the original, it successfully delivered entertainment value that connected with general audiences, particularly families and children who represented the core target demographic. Several reviewers noted the unfortunate timing of the production's transformation from a series to a theatrical feature. The speculation suggested that with more development time and less pressure to meet a fixed theatrical release date, the creative team might have refined the narrative structure and resolved some of the pacing and story issues that critics identified. The remarkable box office success despite mixed reviews demonstrated that audiences remain eager for more Moana content regardless of critical reservations. The sequel's approach to humor received generally favorable notices. The film balanced physical comedy, verbal wit, and character-based humor effectively, providing entertainment for both children and adults. Maui's one-liners and comic physicality continued to generate laughs, while newer characters contributed their own comedic moments. The humor never completely overshadowed the story's emotional core, maintaining the tonal balance that family animated films require. The animation of emotional expressions and subtle character acting earned specific praise from critics attuned to the technical artistry of character animation. Animators successfully conveyed complex emotions through facial expressions and body language, allowing characters to communicate feelings beyond dialogue. These moments of quiet character work demonstrated the craft and skill of Disney's animation team. The world building and expansion of the Moana universe received positive attention. The introduction of new locations, creatures, and lore enriched the franchise's mythology while maintaining consistency with established elements from the first film. Critics appreciated the creative designs for new environments and the imaginative approach to depicting various aspects of Polynesian mythology and ocean-going adventures. The film's messages about community, responsibility, and the balance between personal ambition and collective needs resonated with reviewers who valued substantive themes in family entertainment. While some felt these themes could have been developed more deeply, most acknowledged that Moana 2 attempted to convey meaningful ideas rather than relying solely on spectacle and humor. Comparisons to other animated sequels proved inevitable. Some critics referenced Toy Story 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 2 as examples of sequels that matched or exceeded their predecessors, while others compared Moana 2 to sequels that failed to recapture original magic. These comparisons highlighted the challenge of animated sequels, meeting audience expectations while delivering fresh storytelling that justifies a return to established characters and worlds. The ending of Moana 2 and its implications for potential future installments generated discussion among critics. Some reviewers appreciated the conclusive nature of the story while noting that elements remained open for future exploration. The commercial success virtually guaranteed that Disney would consider additional Moana projects, raising questions about whether future installments would learn from the reception to the sequel and allow for longer development periods. Industry analysis pieces noted that Moana 2's critical reception, while more mixed than the original, remained within acceptable bounds for a commercially successful family film. The correlation between critical consensus and commercial performance has weakened over time, with audience affinity for established franchises often overriding critical reservations. Moana 2 exemplified this trend, achieving blockbuster status despite lacking the critical adulation bestowed upon the first film. The film's technical achievements in sound design and mixing received acknowledgement from critics focused on production elements. The immersive audio experience enhanced action sequences and musical numbers, contributing to the theatrical experience that distinguished the film from typical streaming content. The decision to transform the project into a theatrical release proved justified in part by these technical elements that showcased best-in-cinema presentation. Ultimately, the critical response to Moana 2 reflected the inherent challenges of creating sequels to beloved animated films. Meeting elevated expectations while delivering fresh storytelling proved difficult within the compressed production timeline inherited from the project's origins as a streaming series. While the sequel may not have achieved the cultural impact of the original Moana, it delivered sufficient entertainment value and maintained enough quality to satisfy general audiences, particularly the families and children who represented its core market. The extraordinary box office success demonstrated that audience appetite for Moana content remained strong, even if critical consensus suggested the sequel represented more of a competent follow-up than an artistic triumph worthy of the original's legacy. Reviews: When Moana and Maui are hitting the ocean once again. In a surprise move, Disney CEO Bob Iger announced that the company will release an animated sequel to the 2016 film that will hit theaters November 27. The announcement came during an earnings call in which Iger emphasized that the ship was being righted at Disney's film and TV divisions several months after he acknowledged the company had done too much too fast in order to feed Disney Plus, leading to some cases of lower quality projects hitting the marketplace. "I feel great about where we are with the studio," Iger said when updating investors on Wednesday. Dave Derrick Jr., who worked on the original film as a storyboard artist, will direct the new sequel, which is separate from a live-action remake of Moana starring Dwayne Johnson, Abigail Barlow, Emily Bear, Auliʻi Fraser and Mark Mancina are writing the music. Iger revealed the Moana sequel was initially developed as a TV series, before becoming a movie. "We were impressed by what we saw, and knew it deserved a theatrical release," Iger during the call. He added that the film crossed 1 billion minutes of viewing on Disney Plus in 2023, underscoring its continued cultural cachet. Among the news Iger also shared was a big coup for Disney Plus, the acquisition of Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, Taylor's version. The company also revealed a release date for Zootopia 2, November 26, 2025. On Wednesday, Iger said the company was leaning a little bit more into sequels and franchises. He added that Marvel Studios, which has cut back on its output, is starting to focus on some of its stronger franchises going forward, but I'll leave it at that. The original Moana voice starred Auliʻi Cravalho as Moana, a young woman who goes on an adventure against the wishes of her father, the chief of the Polynesian island of Maui. Along the way, she teams up with Maui, a demigod of the wind and sea voiced by Johnson. Johnson and Cravalho are expected to reprise their roles. The musical animated feature grossed $643.3 million globally, and it received Oscar nominations for Best Animated Feature and Best Song for Lin-Manuel Miranda's How Far I'll Go. Ron Clements and John Musker directed the 2016 movie. Miranda, Mark Mancina and Foe were the songwriters. The Moana news comes as the studio rethinks its franchise strategy after a number of high-profile sequels disappointed last year, with underperforming titles including Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and The Marvels. Animation has also been a struggle in recent years, with Pixar's Lightyear and Disney Animation's Strange World bombing in 2022. Last year's Pixar feature Elemental was a bright spot, with a sleeper hit earning nearly $500 million globally. Nearly a year ago, in March 2023, Iger suggested the company would be more pointed when opting to greenlight sequels, particularly third or fourth installments. "Sequels typically work well for us, but do you need a third or a fourth, for instance? Or is it time to turn to other characters?" Iger said, specifically referencing Marvel. Reviews to Disney's Moana 2 cemented a new Thanksgiving box office record with $225 million over the 5-day holiday frame, obliterating the previous high water marks set by 2019's Frozen 2, $125 million, and 2013's Hunger Games, Catching Fire, $109 million. It also stands as the biggest 5-day debut in history, overtaking Universal's 2023 behemoth The Super Mario Bros. Movie, $205.6 million. The film's 3-day tally of $139.7 million registers as the best start for Walt Disney Animation ahead of Frozen 2, $130.2 million the weekend prior to Thanksgiving. Ticket sales for the Moana sequel were higher than Sunday's estimates of $135.5 million over the traditional weekend, $221 million over the 5 days, and far above early projections of $135 million to $145 million. Moana 2 has far surpassed our high expectations this weekend and is a testament to the phenomenon that Moana has become, Disney Entertainment co-chairman Alan Bergman said in a statement. "This is a moment to celebrate, and we're thankful to all the moviegoers and fans who've helped make this a record-breaking debut. And it's not just the Polynesian animated adventure that's keeping the nation's multiplexes booked and busy. Universal's adaptation of Wicked and Paramount's action epic Gladiator 2, both of which opened last weekend, are continuing to bring out audiences. Together, the trio of big-budget blockbusters are powering the biggest Thanksgiving period on record with approximately $422 million across all films. It shattered the previous benchmark set in 2018 with $315 million in grosses across all films, led by Ralph Breaks the Internet, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald and Creed 2. This year's attendance has massively improved from 2023, which was one of the worst in modern history, as Disney's Wish, Hunger Games prequel The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Ridley Scott's historical drama Napoleon pushed ticket sales to just $125 million in total. Wicked enjoyed another huge turnout, notching the number 2 spot with $81.1 million over the traditional weekend and $118.2 million over the 5-day holiday stretch. Director John M. Chu's big screen take on the popular Broadway musical has generated $263.1 million in North America and $359.2 million globally to date. It already ranks as the highest-grossing Broadway adaptation in domestic box office history, ahead of 1978's Grease, $188.62 million, as well as the fourth biggest worldwide stage-to-screen reimagining behind 2008's Mamma Mia, $611 million, 2012's Les Miserables, $442 million, and Grease, $396 million. Universal needs Wicked to eventually surpass those musical films on global box office charts. That's because Wicked is the first of the two-part saga. The second installment, chronicling the back half of the stage show, lands on the big screen in 2025. Each of which carry a $150 million price tag, not including the studio's maximalist marketing blitz. Gladiator 2 took third place with $30.8 million over the traditional weekend and $44.2 million over the 5-day frame. Ridley Scott's long-gestating sequel to 2000's Gladiator has grossed $111.4 million domestically and $320 million worldwide so far. The Gladiator sequel was also massively expensive to make, costing more than $250 million to produce and another $100 million to market to global audiences. Moana 2 is also making waves at the international box office, where it's opening ahead of expectations with $163.8 million and bringing the global tally to $389 million. The animated adventure is the latest 2024 theatrical smash for Disney following the mega successes of June's Inside Out 2, $1.6 billion, and July's Deadpool Wolverine, $1.3 billion. These blockbusters have cemented a rebound after the studio's disastrous 2023 with flops like The Marvels, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Wish and Haunted Mansion. Movie theaters are especially grateful for the windfall of Moana 2 because the follow-up was greenlit as a television show for Disney Plus before it was retooled into a theatrical feature film. The original Moana was released in 2016 and opened to $82 million over the extended Thanksgiving weekend. The family film performed solidly with $680 million at the global box office but exploded in popularity on Disney Plus and other digital platforms. In 2023, 7 years after its big screen debut, Moana was the most streamed movie of the year in the US with 11.6 billion minutes watched, according to Nielsen. Given its enduring appeal, Disney is developing a live-action remake of the original for release in 2026. This was originally envisioned as a direct-to-Disney Plus streaming production before it was shifted to a theatrical release at the start of the year. Smart decision, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. These are gigantic numbers. Dwayne Johnson and Auliʻi Cravalho reprise their voice roles as the tattooed demigod Maui and the Polynesian heroine, who is not a princess, Moana in the sequel, in which the plucky wayfinder journeys far into the ocean to find a hidden island and break a curse. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote such memorable hits as How Far I'll Go and You're Welcome for the first film, didn't return for the second, instead passing songwriting duties to Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, the duo behind the unofficial Bridgerton musical. Reviews have been mixed, with a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, but critical sentiment isn't factoring into turnout for families. Audiences bestowed the film an A grade on CinemaScore, which certainly bodes well for word of mouth and repeat viewings during its theatrical run. In a distant fourth place, Red One, a Christmas hit action comedy starring The Rock as Santa's head of security, added $12.8 million over the traditional weekend and $18.7 million over the 5-day holiday frame. The Amazon MGM film has grossed $75 million in North America and $148.7 million globally after 3 weekends of release. Red One, which was originally developed for streaming before pivoting to cinemas, cost $250 million, so it'll struggle to climb out of the red in its theatrical run. Lionsgate's Family Friendly The Best Christmas Pageant Ever rounded out the top 5 with $3.2 million over the traditional weekend and $4.85 million through the extended Thanksgiving period. The feel-good holiday film cost $10 million and has grossed $32 million in North America since opening 4 weeks ago. Reviews 3. In a Thanksgiving feast for the ages, movie ticket sales hit an all-time holiday high at the domestic box office, led by Walt Disney Animation's instant mega hit Moana 2. Disney's fantasy musical served up a mammoth holiday domestic debut of $225.2 million, according to final numbers. That's up from Sunday's estimate of $221 million. Smashing numerous records, the Moana sequel boasts the biggest 5-day debut in history, besting the Super Mario Bros. Movie, $204.6 million. As well as delivering both the top Thanksgiving opening of all time and the biggest Thanksgiving gross of all time by a mile, beating Frozen, $93.6 million, and Frozen 2, $125 million, and its 3-day weekend haul of $139.7 million is the biggest opening ever for a Walt Disney Animation title. Overseas, Moana 2 sailed to $165.8 million. A Sunday's estimate was $165.3 million, for a global start of $389 million to boast the biggest global launch of all time for an animated film after passing up Super Mario, $377.2 million. Across Latin America, it was the top opening of all time for a Walt Disney Animation title. Ditto for Australia. In Europe, it was second only to Frozen 2. France was an exception, where it secured the best launch ever. The family-fueled movie came in well ahead of expectations, to put it mildly, in another major win for Disney's film empire following such 2024 hits as Deadpool, Wolverine and Inside Out 2, to name a few. It's been a banner year for the Alan Bergman-led movie studio after a rough few years. Heading into the weekend, Moana 2 was tracking for a start of $125 million to $135 million for the 5-day holiday corridor, Wednesday to Sunday, which would already have been a record buster. Through Friday alone, it had earned $192.7 million globally, including $140 million domestically and $52.7 million overseas. In the US, the pick played to an ethnically diverse audience. While 25% of ticket buyers were 12 and under, another 15% were between ages 13 and 17. Overall, it skewed female, 65%. Thanks to the potent combination of Moana 2, Universal's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2, overall Thanksgiving revenue came in north of $425 million for the 5 days, in an unparalleled post-pandemic victory for the domestic box office. The previous record holder was Thanksgiving 2018, when domestic revenue reached $316 million. The Moana-apocalypse glitch phenomenon proves how much the market can expand when there are movies that have broad yet varied appeal, as Barbenheimer did last year. According to the box office company, the 3 films made up 75% of all showtimes, and ComScore is reporting that the year-over-year domestic revenue deficit has been slashed from 11% to 6% as a result of the holiday bounty. Continuing to bewitch audiences, Wicked alone grossed $118.2 million for the 5 days. That's up from Sunday's estimate of $117.5 million after opening to a record-smashing $112 million last weekend, putting its domestic haul at $263.1 million through Sunday and north of $360 million globally. Its foreign cum is $97 million. In yet another milestone, the movie has passed up Grease, $188.2 million, to become the top Broadway musical adaptation of all time domestically. It also is the 3rd biggest Thanksgiving haul behind Moana 2 and Frozen 2. Females, and particularly older females, continued to make up a large swath of the audience. Directed by John M. Chu, the musical stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Wicked, Part 2 releases November 2025. The Ridley Scott-directed Gladiator 2, which also opened last weekend, is perched in third place and carved up a pleasing $44 million for the 5 days for a domestic total of $111.2 million and an impressive $320 million globally. The male-skewing film's high-profile cast includes Denzel Washington and Paul Mescal. Moana 2 was originally developed as a television series before being reworked as a theatrical sequel. The first Moana A, which included original songs from Lin-Manuel Miranda, was a solid but not spectacular performer at the box office in 2016 before transforming into a cultural sensation. It went on to become the most streamed film across all platforms in 2023. Moana 2 features new songs from Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear and counts Christina Chin and Yvette Marino as producers. Directed by David Derrick Jr., Jason Hand and Dana Ledoux Miller, the sequel reunites voice stars Auliʻi Cravalho and Dwayne Johnson. The story follows Moana as she embarks on an unexpected adventure in long-lost waters after receiving a call from her ancestors. Johnson reprises his role as demigod Maui. Bergman said the movie's performance is a testament to the phenomenon that Moana has become. This is a moment to celebrate, and we're thankful to all the moviegoers and fans who've helped make this a record-breaking debut, he continued in a statement. Among other records, Moana 2 served up the biggest Thanksgiving Day of all time domestically, and the biggest Black Friday. The previous Thanksgiving 5-day opening record belonged to sister Disney animation title Frozen. Frozen 2, which launched the weekend before the holiday, versus midweek, also held the 5-day record with $125 million in ticket sales. All told, Disney lays claim to the top 7 Thanksgiving openings of all time. Reviewers haven't been kind to Moana 2, compared to the first film, but it is hardly impacting interest. The movie's audience score, now known as the Popcornmeter, on Rotten Tomatoes is already at 88%, while it earned an A cinema score, compared to an A for Moana, and is garnering stellar exits on Post-Track. Its critics' score on Rotten Tomatoes currently sits at 66%. Versus 95% for the first film. Johnson has 2 movies in the top 5. Amazon MGM Studios' holiday offering Red One, which stars Johnson opposite Chris Evans, came in fourth with a 5-day haul of $18.7 million for a domestic total of $76.1 million and $148.7 million globally. The film is now in its third weekend. Lionsgate's The Best Christmas Pageant Ever rounded out the top 5 with an estimated $4.9 million for a domestic tally of $32 million through its fourth weekend. Reviews for Moanapocalypse has arrived at the Thanksgiving box office, where a record bounty is underway for Hollywood and theater owners. Disney's fantasy musical Moana 2 opened to a record-shattering $57.5 million Wednesday, followed by $28 million on Thursday at the biggest Thanksgiving of all time and the fourth biggest Thursday for non-opening day. Rival studios show the animated sequel opening north of $200 million as in $225 million or more, but Disney won't comment until Friday so as to avoid what happened last weekend when Wicked and Gladiator 2 came in millions lower than estimated. Globally, the film has already earned $109.6 million and the weekend hasn't even begun, including $85.5 million domestically. Thanks to the potent combination of Disney's Moana sequel, Universal's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2, overall 5-day revenue will hit a high for the Long Turkey Day holiday, or well north of $400 million. The previous best was 2018 with $316 million. Thanksgiving itself is always slow, but traffic will pick up in earnest Friday. Moana 2 will shatter numerous records in its launch, including becoming the top Thanksgiving opening of all time for the 5 days, beating Frozen, $94 million. It will also pass up Frozen 2, $125 million. To become the top earner for the 5 days. And it has already served up the top opening day ever for a Walt Disney Animation title and the third biggest opening day for any animated title behind Incredibles 2 and Inside Out 2, not adjusted for inflation. It was also the third biggest day of 2024 to date behind Deadpool, Wolverine and Inside Out 2. Among other milestones, it could become the biggest 5-day opening of all time for any time of the year. The Disney animated family pic was originally developed as a television series before being reworked as a theatrical sequel. The first Moana original songs were provided by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Was a solid but not spectacular performer at the box office in 2016 before transforming into a cultural sensation, including being the most streamed film across all platforms in 2023. Featuring new songs from Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, Moana 2 counts Christina Chan and Yvette Marino as producers. Directed by David Derrick Jr., Jason Hand and Dana Ledoux Miller, the sequel reunites voice stars Auliʻi Cravalho and Dwayne Johnson. The story follows Moana as she embarks on an unexpected adventure in long-lost waters after receiving a call from her ancestors. Johnson reprises his role as demigod Maui. Reviewers haven't been kind to Moana 2, compared to the first film, but it is hardly impacting interest. The movie's audience score, now known as the Popcornmeter, on Rotten Tomatoes is already at 88%, while it earned an A cinema score, compared to an A for Moana, and is garnering strong exits on Post-Track. Its critics' score on Rotten Tomatoes currently sits at 66%, versus 95% for the first film. John Mqua's Wicked, starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, has also enjoyed a record-breaking run so far, and earned $16.9 million on Thursday. It is expected to gross a massive $105.6 million for the 5-day holiday corridor, the third highest holiday gross of all time after opening to $112 million last weekend to rank as the top-grossing adaptation of a Broadway musical. It is expected to finish Sunday with north of $240 million in domestic ticket sales. Directed by Ridley Scott, Gladiator 2 is perched in third place and should carve up a pleasing $44 million for the 5 days for a domestic total of $112 million and nearly $400 million globally. The film's high-profile cast includes Denzel Washington and Paul Mescal. Reviews 5 Thanksgiving may be months away, but audiences are already getting ready to feast on Moana 2. A trailer for the movie was viewed by 178 million people in its first 24 hours this week, more than any other trailer for a film in the history of Disney's animated empire, which is made up of Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. Moana is from Disney Animation. In terms of trailer viewership, the previous record for Pixar was Inside Out 2, 157 million. And the best for Disney Animation was Frozen 2, 116 million. The Moana 2 trailer also came in above Pixar's Incredibles 2, 113 million. The Moana 2 trailer will play before Inside Out 2, which opens in theaters June 14th. The upcoming Pixar sequel is tracking to open to $80 million to $85 million, although one service believes it will cross $90 million. Both films are good news for Disney's animation empire, as Pixar, in particular, has been struggling. Moana 2, which reunites voice stars Auliʻi Cravalho and Dwayne Johnson, opens in theaters November 27. Reviews 6 Disney Japan has officially released anime-inspired stills and short videos for Moana 2, in a unique collaboration that celebrates the film's Japanese debut. Directed by renowned animation artist Juncho Yasuda, the anime shorts perfectly blend Disney's fan-favorite story with Yasuda's artistic style. With the recent release of Moana 2, a few 3D short animations created by Sonotune and Yasuda Studio have premiered, giving fans a new anime treat. The excitement does not stop there. These short animations are also music videos, featuring the film's most beloved tracks, Beyond, Kodiaku and Return to the True Me. Performed by acclaimed artist Yalbika China, these songs are in some of the most emotional moments of Moana 2, causing these anime shorts to set the stage and get fans excited about the eagerly anticipated Disney film. A stunning collaboration between Disney and Yasuda. How Juncho Yasuda reinvented Moana for anime fans. The partnership between Disney Animation Studios and Juncho Yasuda has resulted in a dazzling new vision for Moana 2. Yasuda, a self-proclaimed Disney fan, expressed excitement about shaping the film's 3D short animation and working with Disney. Through extensive discussions, the team created a detailed and true to the original pair of anime shorts. The result is an amazing blend of Disney's heartwarming story and Yasuda's unique anime art style. The 3D shorts include 2 fan-favorite musical numbers. These tracks bring a fresh, energetic beat to the story. By combining the music and Yasuda's unique animation style, a lot of cultural depth is added to the short film. Fans around the globe will love to dive deeper into the world of Moana 2 with these anime shorts. Anime brings Moana's music to life like never before. The soundtrack that redefines Moana music has always been an important part of Moana's story, and the sequel film is no exception. The anime shorts for Moana 2 make that even better by infusing the music with the unique style of Japanese animation. The songs, performed by Yabaka China, blend emotion with the visual aesthetic of anime. Return to the True Me, the opening theme, has powerful lyrics that go well with the stunning animation, capturing Moana in a new and fresh way. With Moana 2 now screening in Japan and around the world, fans can celebrate the unique and memorable collaboration of Disney magic with anime art. Yasuda's vision and the film's unforgettable music make sure this sequel is not just a continuation of the first movie, but an exciting new chapter in Moana's story. Reviews. 7-8 years ago, Moana, impressively voiced by Auliʻi Cravalho, the strong-willed Polynesian wayfinder. Don't call her a princess. Made a splash with her eponymous Disney debut. Her unique oceanic adventure with the demigod Maui, Dwayne Johnson in top form, earned over $665 million worldwide for the studio and snagged an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Movie. But it was the heroine's charm and stubborn determination to save her people from ecological disaster that gave Moana its most enduring qualities. As with all commercially viable Disney properties, Moana was fated for franchise. 4 years after the original's success, Disney announced plans for an animated television series. Then they scrapped that idea in favor of a more traditional cinematic sequel and dropped news of a forthcoming live-action remake. Release date, Wednesday, November 27. Cast, Auliʻi Cravalho, Dwayne Johnson, Alan Tudyk, Nicole Scherzinger, Tim Morrison, Rachel House. Directors, David G. Derrick Jr., Jason Hand, Daniel Du Miller. Screenwriters, Jared Bush, Daniel Du Miller, Beck Smith, Bryson Chun. Rated PG, 1 hour 40 minutes. But Moana 2, directed by Jason Hand, Daniel Du Miller and David G. Derrick Jr. from a screenplay by Jared Bush and Du Miller, might have worked better as a longer series. While the highly anticipated follow-up features stunning animation, it lacks the cohesive narrative and emotional intimacy that made its predecessor special. Cravalho and Johnson assuredly reprise their roles as the voices of Moana and Maui, whose latest mission takes them through uncharted parts of Oceania. Their sea adventures are heightened by vivid style. Byron Howard is the animation director and Kevin Webb and Amy Lawson-Smead serve as heads of animation and striking visual effects, supervised by Carlos Cabral and Kyle O'Dermatt. In breathtaking sequences, Moana, Maui and a new ragtag crew that includes the spacey chicken Hi, Alan Tudyk, encounter imposing waves and mysterious creatures that remind viewers why 95% of the ocean remains unexplored. The scale of the action showcases Disney's animation prowess. But this peacocking doesn't extend to the narrative, which is scattered and shallow compared to the first film, where Moana focused on the relationship between the titular adventurer and her reluctant demigod companion. Moana 2 divides its attention among more characters. These personalities, which includes fellow Motunuians and new villains, become window dressing in a movie short on time. Moana 2 opens 3 years after Moana saves her island from environmental disaster. The young navigator has been sailing around searching for other societies, and at the start of the film, she returns to Maui with proof of other inhabited islands across the region. The endearing homecoming introduces new characters including Money, Huala Laichung, a passionate island bard Lotto, Rose Matafio, a quirky shipwright Keel, David Fane, a cantankerous farmer and Saimia, Kalesi Lambertsuda, Moana's tenacious younger sister. These islanders, excluding Saimia, join Moana as she sets out to fulfill another one of her ancestors' missions. During a ceremony in which Moana accepts her society's highest honor for wayfinders, the forebears come to her in a vision to reveal why the last person to receive the award, who never returned from their final trip, undertook such a dangerous mission in the first place. They implore her to take a similar journey, as if restoring Te Fiti's heart hadn't been risky enough. The future of her community depends, she learns, on finding an island hidden by the vengeful god Nalo, Tofaga Fabuli, that connects Moto Nui to the rest of its oceanic archipelago. Before sailing off, Moana spends time with Saimea. The pair, who refer to each other endearingly as Big and Little Sis, sneak off to other parts of the island to exchange stories and secrets. With a gusto that recalls Grammatella, Rachel House, from the 2016 feature, Moana teaches Saimea about their people's history. Close-up shots of the sisters, whose curly hair looks even bouncier in IMAX, underscore their intimacy. Their interactions are a highlight of the film, providing a crucial emotional anchor as well as a sense of Moana's own development since the last tale. She's an older sister now, and more aware of what she might lose if these missions are unsuccessful. After some convincing, Moana heeds the ancestors' call and head beyond the reef to find the lost island with her hodgepodge crew. A chaotic encounter with the coconut-armored Kakama'ora and a mountain-sized clam leads them to a reunion with Maui. He's been trapped in a dark underwater lair by mate Tankai, an ace on Auhimai Fraser, a wily villain with an affinity for bats and shadowy corners who recalls iconic Disney villains like Ursula. Her song, Get Lost, is one of the more memorable tunes in a musical where Lin-Manuel Miranda's absence is unfortunately felt. From the moment Moana and her team save Maui from mate Tankai's prison, Moana 2 builds impressive action sequences on a relatively weak story. Bush and Ledoux Miller's screenplay packs in funnier jokes, but it lacks the narrative roundedness of its predecessor, with members of Moana's skillful crew being especially shortchanged. One can't help but feel like more time out of the film is a nimble 1 hour 40 minutes or a more episodic approach might have helped. A post-credits sequence does hint at more in store for Moana. Scaling up does pay off in the visuals, however. The sea has never looked so menacing, and the deeper Moana and company head into its uncharted territory, the more threatening the environment becomes. Intense waterspouts spin uncontrollably atop the water, threatening to wreck anything in its path. Glowing, eel-like leviathans leap through the air before trying to swallow Moana's humble boat. Facing these titanic forces, the gang embraces new ways of working together. Even when Moana 2 falters, their courage remains a steady source of inspiration.